All right, maybe we can just start this whole stream again, right? Because that was not good. Because, yeah, I didn't have my microphone on. So pardon me while I hook myself up here. Just going to clip you onto right there. There we go. I should be able to hear through these headphones. I'm not hearing through these headphones. I'm going to turn them off for a second. And then I'm going to reconnect them. Devices. So, oh, there we go. So let me turn them off. And it should go away on my Bluetooth here. Anyway, these would protect my ears from working, but I would still be able to hear if I was using a text-to-chat kind of window. Nintendo Switch XL, welcome to my channel. See, that I should be able to hear, but I'm not quite hooked in yet. So I'm trying to get my headphones hooked in so this will work. For whatever reason, the headphones don't want to turn on. And I should get audio through these because I should be connected to disconnected. Sorry, it's going to take me just a second here to get connected and get these things set up. Otherwise, I might have to just go to my I might just have to go to my my AirPods, which don't really work as far as blocking noise. Output is set to that. I want my output to be Bluetooth, please. And I want my output volume to be way up here, please. Okay, so we'll see if this is going to work. I should probably just put some music on or something so I can check it with the music. So anyway, I'm trying to get this so that I can interact with the chat more while I'm actually working, because that was suggested to me that it would be a good thing. And I can't really do it while I'm not in the live stream mode because I can't test it without a chat. So anyway, where is my musica? There we go. I just want to turn some music. I'm trying to see if my darn headphones will work here. They should, but for whatever reason, I'm not getting any audio through them. Really, I have to sign in and wow. I guess I haven't used my sign in.
Avisha, welcome to my channel.
See, it's working on here. I can hear that. So somebody else just came in. And why is my Apple ID not working on here? That's not good. Sign in. There we go. So obviously my headphones aren't working, which is annoying as crap because they normally work all the time without any issue. But for today, I can't get my Mac to connect to my headphones, which is really annoying because I have this whole thing set up where I can actually hear text-to-speech and I want to hear it through here. I don't want you guys to hear it through my stuff. I just want to hear it through my headphones. But it's not allowing me to do that, which is really irking me. Yeah, it's playing through my computer, not through my headphones. And that is annoying as heck because, oh, hang on, I gotta pause that. Stop playing. Stop playing. My stream's gonna get busted if I keep that playing. It keeps defaulting to my other speakers instead of my Bluetooth speakers, which is really weird. I don't know why it would do that. So you know what I'm going to do? I mean, I don't want to do this, but it's not giving me a choice right now. So let me turn these off. Yeah, they're off. And then I'm going to just put on my regular headphones and we'll just go from there. How about that? And that way, you know what? I know these work. There they are. So I should be able to It keeps switching off. It won't allow me to use my Bluetooth. It won't allow me to use my Bluetooth to hear, and I'm not sure what the deal is. It was doing it earlier. It was just fine earlier, but it keeps switching off of my Bluetooth, so that's kind of weird. So anyhow, I will be doing stuff in the shop here, I guarantee it. I'm just trying to work through this because I'm trying to improve my experience with those of you who are following along and watching in the stream and stuff. So I'm trying to get that better, but for whatever reason, I cannot hear. Wow, this is so weird. I might just have to restart my computer, which I don't want to do, but I might have to do that because it will not allow me to hear through my Bluetooth headphones. This is so weird. Bluetooth. Oh, hang on. AirPods. Let's try that. Okay. Now it should be good. All right. Now let me see if I go over to my little window here, which is my speech chat, and testing 1, 2, 3. Let's see. I'm going to just send that and see how it goes. Me, you didn't say the words. Hello, world. Okay, it's not saying anything. Okay, so I need somebody to chat in my chat to see if it's working. I don't think it's going to play my stuff. I need somebody in chat to say hello. It is what it is. All right. Well, you know what? It is, like I said, it is what it is. I'm going to go ahead and set up my windows here just so that I can also have a visual of my chats. And then we're going to get to all kinds of things. I've got serving trays that look a lot like ingrain cutting boards. So I've kind of come a little bit of improvement on those since my last stream. And I have some stuff in clamps over here, which you can't see. I'm going to take that stuff out of the clamps, and we are going to get that working on it and see if we can get some improvements there. See, it didn't say anything on my thing. Anyway, and these are pretty flattened right now, flattened to the point where I can go ahead and move to my next step. I do not have a drum sander, which would be really handy for flattening ingrain cutting boards. They when you glue them up and they're still straight grain, because you have to do two glue ups when you're doing, at least two glue ups when you do an ingrain cutting board. So the first one is that they are glued up and they are all straight grain. So the end grain is on the ends, which is why it's called end grain, right? And then you take those and you chop them into pieces and you flip them on end and you get end grain. Well, my end grain is really nice, but you can't send this through a planer. So when it was long grain, I could send this through the planer, get it flattened, and then chop them up for turning them into end grain. But you can't do that with end grain. You can't send end grain through a planer, at least not through my planer. My planer has straight blades, and those straight blades would catch that end grain and fire this thing back out the back of it like a cannon. And don't ask me how I know, but I do. And so you have a couple of different ways to flatten these. Actually, I have a couple different ways I can do it. One is I could set this on my CNC machine. And generally what I would do is knock off all of the glue and everything that's kind of sitting on the surface. I would just clean it up really easy and knock that off. And then what I would do is put it on my CNC machine, set up a flattening bit, which I have. It's for flattening wasteboards or for, you know, flattening slabs, things like that. So I could use that and take a really thin skim off the top and get a flat surface, and then come back and sand it to get those marks from the router bit off of there. And that's one way to flatten it. The other way is to simply just sand the heck out of it. And that's what I did. I used to not do it that way because I only had a small handheld, a little orbital sander. And even using an aggressive grit, like a 60 grit or whatever, it would take forever to flatten the end grain with that little sander. But I have added a beast of a sander to my to my tool repertoire. So this is the Bosch Get 75-6. They also, it's 6-inch, but they also make one in a, with the name has changed a little bit. It's a 75- I don't know, 105 or something like, whatever the metric would be equivalent to 6 inches. But this is a very large flat, and this is the stiff, this is the medium pad. They make a soft pad and a hard pad that you can replace this with. It comes with the medium, and that's what I have on there. But that keeps it pretty flat. And so I use this with an aggressive grit, a 60 grit. And this has 2 modes. It has a regular mode and a turbo mode. The turbo mode is a gear-driven mode. And let me tell you, it is aggressive like nobody's business. But, man, it did a great job. So what normally would take me an hour or two to get marks out of this and get it flat, with a sander, only took me about 10 minutes, maybe 10 minutes per side, which is huge. It's huge because even if I use my CNC to flatten these, I would still have to come back and sand them because it would have CNC marks from where it did the flattening. There would be little tiny grooves in between the passes that the CNC machine made as it was flattening this. So I've bypassed all of that and done this. If I had a drum sander, if I did these things all the time, if I was like a business that did cutting boards, I guarantee you one of the first things I would buy is a drum sander, because drum sanders make quick work of stuff like this, and they really are the best method for flattening and cleaning off end-grain slabs. I mean, just bar none, you look at anybody who does this stuff for a living, they've got a drum sander, because it's just the most efficient way to do it. But this is my equal to that. I don't have a drum sander, but I do have some 60 grit on here, and I did some passes on there in the, like I said, in the turbo mode, which is the gear driven, and wow, I was so super impressed. So these two right here are in a position for me to kind of square up the edges. So what I will do is take these over to the table saw. I have a flat side right here, so I'll use that on my fence, square up this flat side, and then I will use a miter to push it through and then square up these edges, because some of the edges are a little rough. These were cleaned up previously from when they were in long grain form. These cuts were nice and straight. But when I glued all these together, basically this strip, this strip, this strip, that's how it was glued together this last time. So I've got a nice flat edge here, but these are a little off from each other. So I'm just gonna ever so slightly clean up these edges and get them nice and square and flat. So I need to do that to both of those. And then I will take it to the CNC machine and cut out the areas that I need for adding the large ceramic tile that's going to go in the middle, and the 2 little cups that go on each corner. And that's kind of the way those are going to go. So let me grab this. As long as I'm over here, let me show you this. I'm going to take one clamp off of here. It's easier for me to get up on the table. And I know you can't see anything yet, but it's coming. It's coming. So this is one that I had to do later because I had a lot of work to do to clean this up. This had a lot of little cracks and stuff in the wood, and I needed to do a lot of cleanup on this and shoring up some of the cracks and stuff. I don't know why, but this batch of walnut that I got had some very weak fibers in it. But anyway, so this is my glue up, and you can see I have clamping cauls that go across the boards, and try to keep this as flat as possible. And that's one of the things to make your life easier when you're doing glue ups for end grain cutting boards, is to use some clamping cauls to hold everything as flat as possible. So basically I clamped pieces of wood so that it used this piece on the back of the clamp as a reference to push against there, and then try to hold these down very flat. And it did a pretty good job. The other thing that'll save you a lot of trouble is let your stuff sit in the clamps for about a half an hour or so once you've done the glue up, and you're going to get squeeze out between all of the segments. And what you want to do is come back with a scraper like this, about 30 minutes after, 30 to 45 minutes, the glue will have solidified to the point where it's still soft, but easily scraped off. And that's going to save you so much work after the glue has set up. Because once this glue has fully cured, all those little bumps and stuff are more like little razor blades and rocks and hard diamond-like surfaces, and it's really hard to get that stuff cleaned off. So my advice would be to clean that squeeze off as much as you can, clean it off before it has a chance to harden. And like I say, you just kind of work in between the clamps with your scraper and clean that stuff off. Now, I had tape on my clamps because I did not want them to get gunked up. And so this is one of the rough boards right now out of the clamps, and there's still glue and stuff on here. Let me switch to this camera right here so I can show you. So there's still a lot of glue and squeeze out and different things on here that will need to be cleaned up. Some of these surfaces are not flush to each other. It's pretty flat, but not like super duper flat. And so what I will do, and these are really sharp, so you have to watch yourself on these little glue squeeze out lumps. But what I will do is scrape all these off using the scraper as much as I can to get that cleaned up. And it's on both sides. But you can see right here, hopefully you can see, there is squeeze out marks right here because this is where the clamp was. I couldn't get to it. And the same on this side over here. But right in the middle, most of the glue is gone because I could get a good run at it with the scraper while it was in clamps. So anyway, this one, like I said, had some issues with it, and it's got a lot of little holes because there's a little pith that you can. Well, I'll show you. So you can see the little holes in the walnut, and these strips right here. It's got little holes, and especially in this strip down here, like each one has a little hole right in the middle. I don't know if you can see that well or not. There you go. So I will fill all those with black epoxy down the road before this is finished. And they're actually on both sides. But what I did before I did the glue up was I got myself some thin, like Starbond thin CA glue, which is what this is. And I really kind of doused those areas with the CA glue in order to kind of solidify the wood fibers, kind of hold them together. Some of the areas on here that maybe were areas that had small cracks in it, anywhere there it looked like it was going to be weak, I went ahead and just doused it with the CA glue. And because it's thin CA glue and this is ingrain, the CA just soaks right in. I mean, it soaks right into the wood fibers, which is fantastic because it's working its way down inside that piece of wood, and really kind of, once it bonds, it's stronger than the wood itself, and that's what we wanted. So this one needs to be cleaned up. It's not ready for prime time. These other two are ready for prime time. So I'm going to set this one off to the side, wherever that would be. I'm kind of out of space here. And I think I'm going to clean these up first. And I know if you read the title, you're like, well, wait, you said you weren't going to do woodworking, you're going to do art. I am going to do some artsy fartsy stuff today. But I'm going to get these out of the way because I need to do some measurements and stuff too. I need to get the final dimension for these boards so I can set up a cutting path for my CNC machine to make the pocket carves where these little ceramic tiles are going to rest that I'm going to be working on today. The other thing is I've got a lot of clamps laying around here. So I'm going to try to get some of these clamps just put up really quickly here. And I apologize because, kind of takes up valuable time, but it will make life a little easier moving around in the shop. So I'm just going to put these up here, and then just kind of get some of these big clamps out of the way. They just live over here. But yeah, I need my, yes, hey. Def is here. See, this is kind of cool. It just told me that you were here. It's not saying the whole thing in the channel though, so I'm not sure why it's not reading the entire passage to me, but that's cool. So text to speech. We'll see if it works or not. At least it's giving me an alert so I know when people are in the channel and stuff, which is kind of cool. So I can say hello and welcome to the channel. Let's see here. All right, I've got some working surface here. I did not set up my other camera over here, so let me go turn my other camera on, because I am going to use the table saw here, and it's easier for you to see if I actually, turn the camera on and point it at the table saw. There we go. All right, so there is the table saw right there. That is a horrible view of the table saw. I think I can do better than that. Hang on a second. Let me square that up just a little bit, because that is kind of really cockeyed and horrible, horrible framing on my part. There we go. That's a little nicer. That's a little bit nicer. And I just knocked, oh, that was a clamp. Ugh. So that's the problem with things sitting all over the place. So I've got these big Bessie clamps like this, just kind of laying around on the floor that I took off of stuff. I need to hang those up and get them out of the way, because these things, if I knock something over with these are huge. They'll break something there. They are hefty. So let me just hang these up over in their holder real quick. Don't worry, no pieces of wood were harmed in the moving of these clamps. All right. I'm going to bring this over here. So this one right here was cleaned up. Like I said, this was cleaned up on the top and the bottom and flattened pretty well. I used a 60 grit for the first bit of flattening, and to really get rid of all of the tool marks and everything else. And then I hit it with an 80 grit just to kind of soften it up. The thing about end grain, you don't have to go crazy with the sandpaper. You don't have to go to like 200 or 300 or 400 grit. Usually if you take these things to 150, they're going to be perfect. So that's the beauty of end grain too. You don't have to, once you get it sanded up, you're in pretty good shape. Now I have to get my dust collection in shape over here real quick. All right. So dust collection is in, and if you aren't familiar, I'm in a very small shop. This is my garage, and so sometimes it is a little cramped in here, and I have to do a little housekeeping before I can move on, just so that I keep it a bit of a safer environment for myself. So the last thing I need to do is to trip and fall over anything. All right. As I said, one of these edges is very flat. In fact, I kind of hit it with a hand plane just to make sure that it was nice and flat and square. So this one, very flat across the end. And I will use that edge to clean off the other side and get a square or parallel cut. So I'm going to move all my stuff over on the wing here and move this fence over. And let's see, ready to go to get this. I just want to take a tiny little bit off just to get it. I mean, like I'm looking like a 30-second off here. Really, really small amount off of here. And that will allow me to have two square sides. And then I will use my miter to push through off of those square sides and clean up the rough edges. So these edges right here that are actually pointing at the camera, these are the rough sides right here. And I'm going to make sure that they are nice and clean. One of these I hit with my plane. I just want to see which is my flattest side. Nope, it's definitely this side. All right, so we're just going to take a tiny bit off of here. Let me plug in my saw. Plug the power in. Most of my tools don't stay plugged in because I have limited power in my shop. I also have to turn my heaters off before I fire up these tools because I don't want to blow a circuit. One day I'll have more power. I've promised myself. One day it will happen. All right. I'm going to fire up the dust collection and just trim this one side off here, and then we'll see how that looks. But this should be square against my fence here. Let's see here. Just want to flip it and see. Yeah, it's nice and square on that end. And just barely. So we'll see how much I have to. I may have to nudge it over just a hair. Like I said, I just want to just barely trim this off. So let's make that happen first. All right, well, that was a good cut right there. So this is a really nice, clean, square, flat surface. So that is just flat as a table. Now I'll reference off of that nice, new, fresh, flat surface, get my miter out, and we will use that to clean up these other edges. Now this is where it gets tough because it's like I have to actually push my miter off of the edge here because this is pretty long. But I'm going to see, let me look and see what which part is sticking out the most here. All right, so if I come to the edge of this, it should clean up all of these because it looks like this is the shortest of all of these. As I stick this on here, I think that's going to be the shortest one. So I'm going to try that first. I might have to make 2 passes, but I'm going to go right to the edge and just take a tiny little bit off of this one. I'm actually looking at where my fence lines or where my cut lines up in the back of this. Yeah, that actually lines up perfect with the back of this. So I'm just going to move this over just a touch. And we will try one cut there and see what that looks like. Let's do it. Maybe. Ooh, that did a very nice job, actually. That's pretty sweet. Now, I could just flip it and do the same thing, but I'm going to use the fence on my table saw to do this last cut because I now have an edge. And if I get my square out here, let's see, this should be, yep. So this is a very nice square cut right here and very square there. So now I'll come over here. I'll use the fence on here as my guide for where I need to cut. And then we're just going to shave a little bit off of this edge. And we should be in good shape. Like I said, if I need to cut a little bit more, I'll just nudge the fence just a hair. These don't have to be perfectly the same size, but it would be nice if you look at it that you don't see any big discrepancies. Like if I took a ½ an inch off of this one, you'd see it's like, that looks weird. So, but just shaving tiny bits off the edge, I don't think that's going to be the issue. Tiny bits, not big bits. All right. So that's like a 64th off of here. Let's see what that looks like. Try this one. So if you're wondering why I didn't push it all the way through the cut, I mean, once it passes the front of the saw blade, the cut is finished. But if you twist or anything as you're coming out the end of this, you have a chance of nicking or marring or putting a dent or something in the back of the board with this trailing edge right here. So I try not to push through if I don't have to. But now that turned out really, I got all the pieces. And this thing is balling. Look at that. That's awesome. Nice. Okay, and also I'm not going to leave it like nice sharp edges. This is going to get a round over on it on the top. I haven't decided what I'm doing on the bottom. I will probably do an 1/8 inch round over profile on the bottom of it. But I'm also thinking of doing a bevel, perhaps. Like I might do a 45 bevel on here, which would give it a nice little kind of a handle, kind of pickup kind of thing, which, I mean, I could do some sort of a handle route in here. I could use like a, let's see what I got for router bits that we could do a route in that portion of it. Yeah, so I've got like a big kind of a round over like this. So I could do that like in the bottom right here and route that out. But you have to make multiple passes and you flip it and you have to set up stop blocks and it's kind of a pain in the rear. I've kind of gotten to the point where I just like to put like a chamfer in here. So you put a 45 in here and you can do that on a table saw, which is really nice. And you get a nice equal one and you can set it for how much of a chamfer you want. And then I will put feet on the bottom so it'll raise it up even more. So it'll be off the table about this much anyway. And I think that's what I'm going to do on these. I do, but I'm not going to do that yet. I will do that after these get CNC'd and a little bit more sanding done on them. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and clean this other one off here since it's same way. We will clean this one off. And let me see which one of these sides is flat enough to run on a fence. See, this one has a little Humpty Dumpty in the middle of it. Let's see. I might have to clean this off with the hand plane a little bit first. Yeah, so what happens is I've got, you can see this is rocking on here. I've got just a little bit too much meat on the bone right here in the middle, and I need to flatten that section down. And then this will run nice and square on the fence. So yeah, it's just like a 64th or something. I'm going to go ahead and take this over here to the workbench. To the workbench. So let's go over to the workbench and we'll come over here and I'm just going to move this one out of the way. Maybe. There we go. And then I'm going to just work on one of these edges. These are mostly flat and are not too hard to clean off with a hand plane. So I'm just going to set this aside like this and lock it into my table here. And see if we can't just take a little bit off of the, don't put this off there, a little bit off of the crown here where it's kind of off the, it's kind of making a crown. It's a hump right there in the middle. And if I put this on here, I don't know if you can see that, but let's see here. So I don't know if you can see the light coming through the edge there. There you go. There's a good one right there. And you can see over here, there's light coming through that edge. That shouldn't be. You should see no light coming through there. It should be nice and flat. So we're going to see if we can't just take this down right here, trying to keep the sole of the plane flat and running square and true on the wood, because this right here is a nice 90-degree angle. I don't want to change that by coming at it at an angle like this. So I'm just going to try to keep it nice and flat and just take a little of this off the middle. And we'll just keep checking it for square and flatness. And I'm coming at it at an angle because it's just a little easier to get those wood fibers cut at an angle. All right, let me get my ruler here and we will check this to see how much more work I have to do. Pretty good. Still have a little bit right here that's kind of a little flat underneath there, but it's not bad. But I need to take off a little bit more in this area. Let me get a pencil here and just kind of mark that so I can kind of keep track of it. So we'll hit this part. And just keep checking it, really. Not too bad. Because really what I want is I don't want this to tip. If this is nice and flat and not tipping, then I'm in good shape. Just I think a tiny bit more right here. All right. I need to lose a little bit in the middle here. I don't want to do too much. I don't want to go chasing my tail on this thing because it's easy to overdo it. I don't want to overdo it. I just want to get it down to the point where it's pretty flat here. And I think I can take off a little bit more on this end. Because remember, this whole thing will get squared up anyway, so. That's pretty good right there. I got a little bit high spot down here. So let me see where I'm running high. It's like it's still just a little high on this end. Oh, that was tragic. So that was my fear. I snapped the edge of this off. So I'm going to have to trim this in quite a bit. Oh, damn it. Damn it, Gumby. Oh, well, you know what? I could either glue it. I can go find that piece I just kicked off of there, which I don't see it anywhere. Oh, it's stuck underneath. So I could do one of two things. I just knocked the corner of this off, which I was fearful of because this walnut has been very weak. So you know what? Let's do this. I'm gonna glue this in. I think I'm safe to do that because I'm gonna use CA glue. So I'm gonna do some CA glue on here, and we're gonna glue this back on. Make sure I have it in the right orientation here so that I can get it just where it needs to be. Is that right? It's not right. Is this right? There we go. Okay. All right. So I'm going to soak this in CA glue right here. So lots of CA right there. I'm going to hit this with a little activator, which you have to be careful with that because it can lock it in place pretty quickly. Like that. Then I'm going to put a little bit more on the edge here. And then I'm going to hit it with a lot of activator. And the activator just creates a chemical reaction between the CA and the wood to speed up the drying process. All right. And then I need to just sand that down to get any rough surface that the dried CA is leaving on here, because I do not want that to interact with my cut. Now the other thing is I can literally just trim this down if I want to. I didn't want to. So I'm going to see if I can just save this piece on here. And like I said, at the end of the day, that CA in there should do a good job of holding this. This is ingrained, so I'm just going to give this a nice little sanding. Okay, this should be nice and flat. My little piece is holding on for dear life. All right, let's go ahead and, so really what the deal is I planed across unsupported wood. This wood right here, there's nothing supporting the backside of this wood right here. And I should have flipped this around, done it with the maple side. I should have carved this side and then flipped it and then hit this from the other direction. So that was really just a stupid error on my part. But if we just got rid of all the stupid errors on my parts, there'd be nothing to watch. That still looks a little high to me. Is that high? No, guess not. Okay, let's go ahead and get this one trimmed up. You know what? I'm looking at it and I'm not happy. Not happy. It's not perfectly flat. It's pretty flat. Pretty flat. I mean, this is flat. That's really flat. All right, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up to I'm going to take a little bit off of this because I can and because it's not going to really affect it that much. Each of these is an individual piece. They're not match sets. So I think just losing that little cut of wood right there is going to be best overall. I don't even think I could trim that. Let me try. I'll try. You know, let's not give up on it first. Just taking a tiny bit off of here. So let's give this a try, see what it looks like. If it looks like garbage, well, you know what? We'll just trim it all the way off. We've got that option. I'm just going to look and see what is going on. Hey, welcome to the channel. Thanks for stopping in. I'm just doing some trimming on these, on this, what looks like a cutting board, but it's not really a cutting board. It's not going to be a cutting board when it's done. It's going to be a serving tray when I'm done. But right now, it kind of looks like a cutting board because it's made to be exactly, it's made to be in the same fashion as an ingrain cutting board. All right, I'm just trimming up the edges now, getting some square edges, and then we're going to move on to trimming the other sides up, and then just these will be all squared up and ready to roll. All right, I'm going to use my miter with these new squared ends and cut a nice square cut on here. Let's go this way, get this trimmed up so I have another square edge here. Right there. So this is going to take off a bit of meat on this thing, but that's okay. Taking off as little as possible. I really want to keep this nice and straight, but I'm looking at where my pass-through is on the back of this. I can see exactly how much it's cutting off here. And if I did it this way, just let me fix something real quick here. So if I did it that, so that's just barely going over. Yeah, it's just going to chop a lot of wood off of there. Let me see what this side looks like. Just for giggles, I just want to see how much it's going to cut off of here. See, this one is just barely trimming any off of here. But let's go with this one first, and then we'll go to the other side. There we go. That's nice and clean. And the whole goal of this is to just get these edges square and flat and straight. So, which that is. And my computer went to sleep, I think. It did go to sleep. All right. So I need to lower my opacity down here a little bit. Huh. Okay. I'm trying a new speech to text chat thing, which is why I'm wearing the headphones. Although I'm not really getting any chat in my stuff, but you know, that's okay. That's good. Voice is good. Chat. Turn it off for right now. And let's go events. And everything looks good. Okay. It all looks good. So hopefully if I get any chat in here, I'll hear it and then I can respond. And so this was a suggestion from somebody who watches the stream and is like, hey, you know, you'd probably get more people if you would actually watch or, you know, respond and react and interact with people watching the stream. And I was like, you know, you're right, but it's hard to hear people and see things while you're using a tool, and you don't want to be out there, you know, just, you don't want to be out there reading text while you're using a tool. And they're like, well, some people use the text to speech. And I was like, well, let me give it a try and see if it works. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm using this thing called speech chat, and hopefully it will work. In fact, you know what? Hang on a second. I'm just going to welcome to the channel. I'm just going to throw it out there so I can see if it's going to work here. But all it's doing is saying my name. It's not actually working right now. So, but I do know when somebody pops in or says something, at least I can go back and check it. So that's something to be said, right? So at least I'm getting an indication when something either somebody pops into the channel or somebody makes a comment. Hopefully that will be enough to give me an indicator so I can check it out and make sure that I am responding. All right, I'm going to trim this edge down here as little as possible, but it's going to cut pretty deep into this side over here. I'm kind of not crazy about that. Was this square? Yep, that's square. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the table saw fence to make this cut, because it's going to give me a better reference moving along the side here. So I'm just going to set this up right there. And I don't think, yeah, so I'm going to set this up so I just get a tiny bit off of this one. And I might have to adjust the cut on this side so that it is taking off and I have about the same amount. Like I said, I just want them to be about even. They don't have to be perfectly even, just close so it doesn't look weird. But I took a significantly larger amount of wood off of this side than I did this side, which means I probably should take another pass on this edge just to get that. Let me measure how large these are now. Let me use a finer ruler marking here. Yeah, so this is 2 and just over an eighth, between an eighth and 3/16. And then let me check this side. Is 2, and yeah, so I need to take about a 1/16 off of here, which is not much, but you know, it's enough. So let me get these even. Just get that 1/16 on here. That ought to be it right there. All right, I'm just gonna take one last pass on here, just trim off just a tiny little bit on here. All right, there we go. All right, so these are now trimmed up. I still have this piece right here, which is a little bit weakened, but it's nice and clean. And by the time I do the roundovers and stuff, we'll see if that's an issue. I can always come back and trim it down again if I need to. But that being said, I'm going to put one of these in the CNC machine, and we're going to make a couple of cuts on here. And so my thought process, wow, you know, I'm such a dork. Let me come over here where you can actually see me. I don't blame people for leaving the channel. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. Look at him. He's got cameras pointing at stuff that's not showing anything. I'm sorry, man. All right. Now we can see this, hopefully. I don't know if this is a better camera angle or not. But this is going to go in the center. Let's see. Yep, in the center. So I'll have this lined up, centered as best as possible on here. Like this. And then these little cups will go in here and here. Or here and here, whichever. I haven't decided yet. But I need to have them about equally spaced. And what I need to do is go to the CNC machine and route out for these to fit inside. So I'm going to make little pockets. I'm going to route pockets inside of here so that this doesn't slide around. It has a perfect circle that fits there. And you'll just set this in the circle and you'll be good. So to do that, tell you what, let me see if I can get my Inventables stuff. Yes, I know I'm off camera again, but it's for a good cause. Trust me. I'm going to set up another camera angle here and see if we can get this lined up with my screen over there, because I don't have this on the same screen that's broadcasting. Right there. That should be good. And then you can see what I'm doing on my software. So if I switch over to this camera, there you go. So it's not perfect because it's actually just looking, see, there's my hand there. But I can go in and launch my software and show you how I would set this cut up. So let me go to easel.com, which is what that's the software that is made by Inventables, and that's who makes my CNC machine. And I'm going to load into that. Really? Okay. And then what I would do is create a new project. So these are past projects. They have some featured stuff. And then these are my past projects of stuff that I've done or things that I've set up to try out different stuff. But I'm going to go new project on here. And the first thing I need to do is set up my actual dimensions for my board right here. So I need to take some measurements of my board. Ooh, it is cold in here. I'm going to turn my heaters back on because it is chilly in the shop. It's like 62 in here, and that's pretty chilly. So let me just turn my heaters back on. And while I'm not doing anything else, we can try to warm the shop up a little bit. So I'm going to come back over here to the board, and let me get this one right here. Is this the one that we just messed up the corner? Yeah, I'm not going to go with this one yet. Well, actually, you know what? I am going to use this one because if it screws up, it's got that kind of janky corner anyway, and I don't really care. So we're going to use this one because one of these was going to be like a test anyway. So I'm going to measure this at 12 and 5/8 on the width or the length, I guess, and 11 and 3, is it 3/4? 11 and 3/4 on the width. So 12 and 5/8. The only thing with this stuff is you kind of need to translate it to decimal, which I know if I would just use the metric system, I wouldn't have that issue, would I? I would not. Okay, Okay, so my x-axis is 12 point, hang on. But you know what? There's an app for that. Absolutely. So there's what's the thing called a fractions. So I can turn fractions to decimals. So I can just say 5/8 and it'll tell me what the decimal is. And that's 0.625. Thank you very much for that. So 12.625 on the width, and then the length, which is kind of weird that you would think it's the other way around, but it's, and it might be, so we'll have to see. But the x-axis is the one that runs across. So if you're looking, and it tells you right here, x is this way, y is this way. But you would think that length would be the going across. You know, I don't make these things. 11.75, because it was 11 3/4. Oops. Enter. Our depth on these things doesn't really matter, but I know that this is 1 1/4 inches deep. But it doesn't matter. The depth really, the thickness really matters when you're going to be going all the way through the piece. So if you're cutting something out that's going to go all the way through and you need a through cut, you need to have an exact measurement so that it's accurate. But we're not doing that. That is not our deal. So anyway, here is our piece of wood here. Now this is Baltic birch. I'm going to list this as like, I don't know. Let's do, I think I have maple in here. There's some maple. We'll use that. And the one thing that does is by setting the wood type is it kind of helps the CNC machine understand the hardness of the wood you're using, so it can make adjustments to the depth of the cut and the speed of the cut. So it kind of has some general rough measurements that it uses for based on the thickness. So if I was doing cherry, it might actually plunge deeper and go faster than if I was doing like hard maple. So that's what that's for. All right. And if you look on here, I'm going to make my work surface bigger. So I need to edit my machine because it doesn't have a big enough work surface, does it? Oh, it does. Okay. Save. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so if I zoom out, you zoom out here, so you can see here's, there we go. So this large area right here is my work surface. This is the board. It doesn't have to be in the corner. It's just how it shows it to you. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And then what we need to do is a couple things here. First is I'm going to find out what the, I'm going to zoom it out just a hair. And I'm going to lower this thing down because I don't really need it right now. There we go. Give us a little more space to work. So I'm going to measure that, that ceramic tile. And I think it's like 6 by 6, but it's a little under. So it is actually 5 5/8, and it should be square by 5 5/8. Or not 5/8, 7/8. So we need 7/8 basically. So 5 7/8. We'll just say 7/8. And that is 0.875. And the reason I say that is I need to come up here and grab a shape. I'm just going to click on the little shape thing. I'm going to grab a square. It gives me a square right here. Now, I can drag that out to what I want, but I can also quickly come in here and just, because it gives you a 2 by 2 to start with. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to just put in, what did I say that was? 5.875? I think that's what I said. Yeah, 5.875. And we're going to lock the aspect ratio. So whenever I change 1, it'll change 2. So 5.875. And that is basically what the cutout would look like. Now, it's got a pretty good depth of cut on there. the depth of cut on this is 1/2 inch. These are not going to be 1/2 inch. So this will be, I don't have my calipers handy. Oh, here they are. So I'm going to check my calipers here and see. I just want this to be right, maybe right there. I want it to be just above the surface. So 0.219, we'll call it 0.215. How about that? That'll be my depth of cut. So let's go back here so you can see that. So 0.215, I'm going to make that my depth of cut for this one. So we're just going to click on there and go 0.215. I have a wireless keyboard, so it's kind of nice. All right, so that is basically the pocket, the way it's going to look when it's cut. And you can see, I can whirl around and see, but you can see that's how deep that's going to be. Now that's not the location for this thing, obviously. So we can go to the shape and we can tell it where we want this thing to be. I can go shape. I want this in the middle. And I want the middle of this to be in the middle of my cut. So if my, oh, hang on. This is not correct. That was 12 point, what did we say? Why is it giving me a 12? Huh. That's weird. It's giving me 11.75, but it's not giving me the 12 on the width, which is really strange. Why? Let me do something different here. 12.5. It's not changing my figure up top. It did 11.75, but it's not doing, huh. What if I did 13? It did 13, but it won't do. Okay, this is really bizarre. Sometimes this stuff just, 625 makes my head spin. There it goes. Now it's working. Weird. So what I need to do is find out what half of, I need to figure out where the width and the length is in the middle of that. So in the middle of the board. So I have to kind of divide things now. So I'm just going to go to my calculator and do some division here and put these numbers in. So let's see, 12.625 divided by 2 is 6.3125. So on the width, on the X surface, we want 6.3125, 0.3125. And on the Y, this is 11.75 divided by 2 is 5.875 on that one. 0.875. And what it does is it takes the center of that square and puts it right in the center where I told it. This mark right here tells it I want it in the center. And now it's perfectly centered. Now, you saw that I had that on an angle. So what I can do now is I can actually rotate this. And I can rotate it, not 90 degrees, but let's go 45 degrees. And it looks like that. So now I've got that set. And now I need circles, right? So we need to have some circles that represent our cups, because we want these cups to sit in there. So I need to figure out about how large of a circle this needs to be. So I'm just going to go back to my thing here. Let's see, 3.5, and they can be a little larger. They don't have to be exactly fitting, you know, they can be a little bit larger. And because the cups are kind of, so these cups have a little bit of a flare to them, and I'm not sure exactly how deep they're going to sit in here yet. So I might come to the bottom here a little bit and just kind of work it this way. So let's just say 3.6. Or no, 3.55. I think that gives us a little room to work with. So there's a little bit of slop area in there. 3.55. That's gonna be our circle. All right, so let's go back over to here. Switch it back over and go to 3.55. And we will set up one of these circles. So I'm going to go back to the shape tool up here, click on this, click on the circle, and then I'm going to lock in these X and Y because you can make these things like oblong and everything else, but I'm going to lock in the aspect ratio. And then what did I say it was? 3.55. So we're going to take this 3.55 inches, and there it is right there. And now these are a little different. I have to figure out how I want to center these things on here. So I can click and move them freehand if I want to. And basically what I'm going to do is just try to space them about equidistant from the edges so that they kind of just look like they're in the middle of that one. And then I can actually right click and copy and paste, and then Control V because this is standard copy and paste, and I can slide this one. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I want to grab this, and we will slide this one up here, and then I can move this whole thing over a little bit just to make it. Actually, you know what I can do? Watch this really quick. I can just move this over, give myself a little bit of room to work here, and we're going to try to get this one centered about the same way, about the same distance. Does that look good to you? Kind of looks good to me. The one thing I want to do is change the depth on these things. So how deep do I want these cup ones to be? Because I think I'm going to do these a little deeper than the little tile. So I think on these, I want to take them down about 0.3 inches. So let's go 0.3 on here. And all I have to do is click on one of these, and then I can go to the cut and just change that depth of cut right here to 0.3. And then I can do the same thing to this one. That's going to be slightly deeper than the tile, but that's okay. That's what we want, 0.3. There we go. And if I drag this over here, you get a nice visual representation of what this will look like. Let me zoom in a little bit. So you can see the cuts, you can see how deep it's going to be. Now, I can do this one of two ways. Because this is a triangle, I have an 1/8 inch bit on here. An 1/8 inch bit will take forever to cut this. Let's see. Let's do a simulate and see how long it would take this with an 1/8 inch bit. It'll give you a rough estimate. And that rough estimate is 2 hours and 2 minutes to do that with an 1/8 inch bit. That's stupid. So what we can do is we can actually change this to a 2-bit operation here. So we can go, I can change this to a 1/4 inch. Now that does two things. It makes, it'll do a larger cut, right? If I just did that, but what happens is, and let me show you here, is if you look at these corners, I have to hold the shift button while I do this. If you look at these corners, they're rounded because it's using a 1/4 inch bit. It can't get those tighter corners because of that. So what I could do is add a second pass with a straight cut. And now I have two. And because I've got that one for my details, now my corner radius is much tighter. And that will give me a much tighter cut, which would fit the corners of that thing a little bit better. Now I can simulate this. So we had 2 hours and some odd minutes. Let's see what we get now. That cut my time down to 57 minutes plus 6 minutes. So an hour for the 1/4 inch bit and 6 minutes for the detail. Because the detail bit, the 1/8 inch, all it's going to do is go around the perimeter and clean up those little areas. The bulk of the cutting would be done with a 1/4-inch bit. So obviously I'm not going to make you sit through that, because that would take forever and be boring as hell. But although, you know, people sit and watch goldfish on Twitch, like thousands of people do. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But anyway, people do it. And if I just offended you because you're one of those people who watch goldfish, I'm sorry. I just don't understand. It's like, I'm sitting here giving content and they get goldfish. But anyway, now that I've got that set up, what I want to do is, I'm not going to make those cuts right now. I will do that later when I'm off stream, so that you don't have to put up with that. I'll set up this and use that profile. But I wanted to show you how I would set that profile up. It's a really simple cut. Basically, one large square and 2 circles. And then these things will fit just like that. And that's the gist of it. But what I want to do is, I'm going to work on these plates a little bit here and test out some stuff. I also have, let me just throw this out here. So I've also got these things which I need to coat in Odie's oil. I made these last week. And so these are basically just like cheese boards, charcuterie serving boards. And I carved a monogram in it and filled it with epoxy, and I've sanded these things down. So this thing has been sanded to, and you can see it's pretty shiny and reflective almost. And I'm trying to see if you can see a reflection in there. But there you go, you can see reflection there. That's how much I polished these to a 1500 grit. And I'm going to use Odie's oil on there. So the key is with Odie's oil is the shinier the wood is, the more fine you sand it, the more glossy before you put the Odie's oil on, the higher the sheen will be after the Odie's oil. So unlike a lot of finishes that say, you know, you should stop sanding at 220 or 340 or something like that, this stuff says if you want it shinier, get more fine on your sandpaper. So I've already done one like that, and it actually looks really good. So I was really happy with that. I'll tell you what though, here's what we're going to do. Because this is new to me. This is a new process for me, making this. I got this, I can't remember where I got this idea, but I think maybe on, I don't remember, maybe on Pinterest or something. I kind of saw this and I was like, ooh, that looks really, really cool. And I bought all the supplies, or most of the supplies. I need one more thing to finish it off. But I bought most of the supplies on at Michael's, and I think that's where I got. And did I get any on eBay? I think I got it all at Michael's and maybe Walmart a little bit. Hang on a second. I'm going to get this dust off my table because it's kind of messy. Remote. Okay. So I've got all these supplies that I want to use. So let me get a silicone pad just to kind of keep any mess off of my stuff. Now here's the thing with these inks. These are called alcohol inks, and that's because it is basically a dye suspended in an alcohol base. And I've got a whole pack of them here, so you can see them right here. And a bunch of different colors, and these have some really cool effects that happen when you use them. I'm going to try to get the camera a little closer here for you. So I kind of have to move a couple of things around here in order to do that because I've got some stuff sitting here. So let me move a couple of things out of the way, get this camera positioned a little bit closer for you. so that you can get a little bit better view of what's going on here. Is that better? We can point it down a little bit too. How's that look? That's pretty good. So a little bit more. All right, and I'll put my tile over here. Now the cool thing about using the alcohol inks, and because they are basically suspended in an alcohol base, is that if you make some mistakes or whatever, you can just clean them right off with alcohol. So I have a bottle of alcohol here. This is isopropyl rubbing alcohol. And I've got some little helper things over here, depending on how I want to do this. I've got some brushes. So if I want to brush things on, I can do it that way. If I want to have a, let me see, I've got some little trays that I can use that are kind of like little painter's trays that I can put, I can put my, if I want to have a little pool of stuff to dip a brush into and use a brush, I can use that. Or I can have some alcohol in one and then use that to do stuff. I also want to get a couple of towels just to have them at the ready. So let me grab a couple of towels here. So welcome to today's art class. Today we will be doing alcohol inks on tile. And I have these little peck wipes, peck pads. So these are pretty nice for actually doing any cleanup stuff. They're little teeny white pads, little white, I don't know what they're made out of, but they clean really well and they're absorbent. So the first thing I'm going to do is clean this off with some alcohol, because you don't want anything else in here that's going to impact with the dyes, the inks, or whatever we're calling these things right now. So I'm just going to put some alcohol on here and I'm just going to clean this off. I'm using this particular one because it has a couple of chips in it, but I got these at Lowe's for 39 cents a piece. I tried to find some at Home Depot, but Home Depot was a little weird. They had everything was kind of boxed up and they didn't really have like per tile pricing. It was like, oh, here you can get a whole case of them. And I was like, I don't want a whole case of them. I just want a few. I think I ended up getting 10 for $3.90. So I'm guessing that's a good deal. I do not know. Let me see if that alcohol is dried yet. That's the other thing too, is the alcohol dries really fast. So when this stuff dries, it's basically set in place and it will not, it won't move, or, you know, water doesn't affect it or anything like that. The only thing that really ends up affecting it again is if you have more alcohol or some sort of a solvent, I think would also interact with it. I would like that to dry a little bit faster. Let me get one of these towels and just kind of pat it on here and see if I can get that alcohol to dry a little faster on there. There we go. All right, that is nice and clean now. So we've got a clean surface and we are ready to try some of these alcohol inks now. So my thought was I could try something like something in a blue or something like that, and really kind of, you know, work with some different stuff. This stuff goes a long way too. It's just a little bit goes a long way. Let me get this blue right here. I guess this is blue. No, this is sapphire. I also have amethyst. What else? I got some turquoise. I've got silver. I've got gold. I've got black, white, amber. So we'll play with it here. Like I said, I'm not sure yet, and that's why I have so many tiles. And you can, like I said, you can wipe them off, start again. So I'm going to unscrew this right here, and this actually is closed, and I have did I bring it over here? I had a safety pin, yeah, right here, and I'm just going to poke a hole in this tube with my safety pin to hopefully, there we go, free up oh, there it goes, whoo, kind of squirted. As you can see, I got a couple little dots right here. Now, I see a lot of people doing a lot of different things, so I'm just going to put a dot here. And you can kind of see how it spreads, which is kind of cool. And I can put a little dot over here. It's a big dot. And I'm just going to put some dots around here. Now you can paint with this stuff. I'm going to let that spread. I'm going to get a different color on here. Let's do this amethyst, because, you know, we can. And the cool part about this is that one color pushes another color out of the way. You probably want to use gloves when you do this. I do not have gloves on right now, so I'm just begging for trouble here. I'm gonna wipe the needle off though. Yeah, so I'm getting this ink all over my fingers, and you know, not great, but anyway. But watch when I put this on the big dot over here. I don't know if you can see. Let me get that out of the shiny part there. There we go. So when I put this in the middle of there, I'm just gonna put a dot on there. Watch what happens. It takes over that space and pushes it out of the way. And so you can do some crazy things with this stuff. And as it spreads, it will push the other inks out of the way. You can also use alcohol. I'm gonna put some alcohol in my tray right here. And that way I can use it with a brush. And you can use the brush to do some crazy things with it. You can blend things, you can move things around, make little patterns. Push this up in here. So you can do some crazy stuff with this thing. What do I got here? Is this the amethyst again? Let's draw kind of like that. That's kind of cool. We're going to let that kind of seep out there. Now, one thing you can do is you can let this dry, then you can reactivate it with alcohol, and the inks will be all ready to go again. And then you can use air. I see a lot of people using like airbrush brushes, and they blow out little petals and all kinds of little cool things. I'm going to add some more blue over here. Let's go this way, and this way. Let's just, a little goes a long way. But you can, like I said, you can use it on a brush. You can swirl it around. So you can start getting some. So I'm going to just start kind of mixing this stuff in here. And I can get some more alcohol on here, and then that helps me push it around and start getting some abstract kind of shapes and stuff in here. And then you can, I've seen people do things like you can blot with different, like with felt and such, and it leaves these little cool little dot patterns and stuff. So all kinds of little things. So we're just playing. Where did I leave my, there it is. We're just making some discoveries here. So I'm going to take some other colors here and hopefully not get this all over me. But this plate's going to go in the middle of my thing. So I'm going to put some of this. Now watch how it pushes it out of the way. Watch. So all these deep colors in here. It just does some cool stuff. So you kind of almost get like a tie-dye effect in here, which is pretty cool. I like it. It's kind of fun. And then you can do things like use the end of this and just drop some alcohol into the middle of it. And you can make little dots. So the darker stuff is not nearly as affected as the lighter stuff. Trying to get alcohol on the tip here and just do some little dots. and start making it look like little drops on here. I see people using, they've got special heat guns that they use for this stuff. And those are really handy for like drying different sections. But this is kind of fun. It's just using the alcohol to drop little drops of alcohol on here, and it makes these little dots. The other thing you can do is you could put some in the tray here and just paint with it with a paintbrush. But anyway, we're just having fun. Just channeling my inner Bobby Ross here. Making some happy little clouds and trees and raindrops. Because, you know, why not? Anybody watch that special? I think Netflix had a documentary on that, on Bob Ross. I have not watched it yet. I want to. I want to see it because it's just, you know, everybody loves watching Bob Ross. It's just kind of like, it was one of those people that just kind of, you know, it was kind of like an inner Zen thing going on here. That's kind of cool looking, by the way. You know, you never really see the stuff that goes behind the scenes, and sometimes it's kind of sad stuff. But like, you know, one of the, like a character like that, like Mr. Rogers. Now, I won't say Mr. Rogers was sad. Mr. Rogers was just, you know, one of those people that, you know, you think, oh, he can't be like this in real life, but he really was. He was just this just super nice guy. I mean, I think he was a pastor, but he just loved kids, and he cared about kids, and he just, you know, so he was just all about educating and making kids feel safe and warm and you know, valued as a person. You know, we need more of that in the world. I really do. You know, I was watching the news and there was a shooting at a school in Michigan yesterday, and I'm like, you know, those kids, they need more Mr. Rogers, I think, because I don't think there's enough of that in the world for these kids. I really don't. Because you just got to wonder, what the hell, you know? That's, I don't want to get deep and philosophical about it, but it just, you know, I don't know. It's crazy sometimes when you think about the stuff that goes on and how kids, you know, little things can affect their lives in such big ways. This is kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. Look at that. I'll hold it up here so you can see what's going on here. So this is kind of what I was after, is this little effect here. Like, I'm going to do all the way to the edges, but very, I don't know if I could call it a Seurat. Lots of dots there. Maybe a Jackson Pollock. I don't know. What do you think? Kind of cool looking. And that's going to sit in the middle of that table. It will get sprayed with a, there's 3 different processes. One is a, I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, it goes on there and protects it, puts a protective layer over this so that it can't be reactivated. So once you're happy with a design, you can put it on there and it will not reactivate the inks on there. Then there is a clear coat that goes on top of that, and then there's a glaze that you can put on top of that. And so you do basically 3 different coats on top to protect this. And the glaze, being the last one, is going to add that protective layer. All right, I'm going to just grab, what do I want to grab here? Ooh, how about some gold? Should I throw some gold in there? Just, I have to shake it up, I think. You need to shake that. The gold has actual like little suspended stuff. So this is the only one you really need to shake up, is I think the gold and the silver, because it has suspended particles in there, unlike the other ones that you do not have to shake. You do not need to shake up any of the colors, just the ones that have the particles, which would be like these gold. But I want to see this gold in here. I'm going to put a couple of, maybe one in the middle here or something. So let me wipe this off. Let's see what a gold right here in the middle would look like. I just dropped a gold spot right here. Okay, that's kind of cool. It's kind of gold, right? But it doesn't react like the others do either. It's kind of different. So I'm going to put a little gold over here. I think I'm just going to do some trailing of this over here. There we go. Put a little gold over here. Maybe a little on this side right here. Kind of cool, not gonna lie. It's kind of fun. Like being in art class all over again. All right, I've got other colors here. I don't know what I should use. I got some amber. I can always come back with like the sapphire again. I mean, I don't want this to be a total poop show, but this is for play. This is my experimentation. And once I'm happy with a process or a design or something, I will try to put it on here. I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to just put a big old dot on here, and I'm going to do this. Okay, that's kind of cool. So you can, a lot of people will blow stuff on here. So I'm going to put another big dot right here and then go and blow it out. So it does these really cool little patterns. And then we need to do somewhere on the side here. Now this is a light color. So the dark colors, kind of cool. But they really, you can see the dark colors really like to take up space in here. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Ooh, that's crazy looking. I think I'm going to go back to the blue though and kind of fill in some areas here. What do you think? Should I just go right to the edge? Right to the edge. So let's gonna just blow that out a little bit. This is fun. It's not woodworking. You're right, it's not. But it is fun. Kind of being a little bit of a weird creative guy here. Like a galaxy exploded on my page here. And then you can always, like I said, you can go back and you can just hit your brush here and then you can just kind of spread things around to fill in spaces. So if your brush is filled with, if it's filled with alcohol, it reactivates and I can actually go in and get some clean alcohol. Let me get one that's clean because that one's kind of getting taken over by the amethyst. So I'm going to put a little bit of clean one. Let me get this cleaned off a little bit here. And then I'll go into the clean one here. And then we will work this area. Now I'm going to go into the dirty one again. Just spreading color. So the thing is, if you take if you got a spot that's really thick with color, you can drop this in here and that's all activated again. And you can just push that stuff around. Wow, that is totally Technicolor. This is like a bad acid trip, I think, right here. It's just not what you want to see if you've taken illicit drugs. But, I don't know, it's kind of cool looking. It's kind of cool looking. And I'm just thinking I need to come back this amethyst maybe a little bit in here. That's really dark. That amethyst is like super dark. Kind of like it though. I'll put one right in the middle here. But it kind of dries fast. So they've got this other stuff, which is kind of like a mix between alcohol and they call it blending agent. which allows the colors to kind of move around a little bit easier. But a lot of people just go with the alcohol, and they'll use a dropper of alcohol and just drop alcohol onto the project and reactivate that way. I do not have a dropper for my alcohol. I need to get one, a little bottle that I can use for a dropper. But yeah, that was cool. I like that. That was fun. I could do some black and just kind of accent some of these edges with black. The other thing you can do is you can go through and kind of color the tiles. Some people will get a black Sharpie and just black outline the tile. Or they'll let the color drip off the edge. Poke a hole in the black here just so I can have all the colors on my fingers. Stop it. There are higher end ink kits that you can get. They'll have like little needle valves up top to distribute the stuff and everything else. This was just a pretty cheapy one I got at Michael's. I mean, I say cheap, it's like 20 bucks for the inks. I mean, it's not inexpensive. But I think it's worth it. And a little tiny bit goes such a long way too. So I had a blower and I can't find my little blower. I had one that was used for cleaning camera sensors. Oh my God, look at my fingers. That's horrible. Gloves are a good thing. But anyway, I couldn't find it because that would be kind of cool to be able to do some of that stuff. But anyhow, now you know what kind of craziness I'm planning for these trays. And I might do some like I've got, what other colors I have here? So I've got this seafoam, and I might use some more earth tone stuff. I've got this amber, I've got the citrine, I've got some rose, I've got some ruby. So I might try some different like darker earth tone colors, and then maybe some cool colors. Like I've got the blue and the amethyst. I call it blue. I've got the sapphire, the amethyst, and I could also go with a little turquoise and some white and kind of do more of a cloudy type theme. But anyway, that is where we're at with this. So very interesting, very weird and bizarre, the weird world of it. Now, here's the thing. If I don't like it, I just put alcohol in here, wipe it off, and it's done. So that's all you have to do. In fact, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and do that. We're just going to clean it off. It's kind of like a whiteboard in that respect. So I can just start cleaning it off. Now, those darker inks definitely take a little bit more work to get off because there's just more of it. The pigment is darker. But you can see that a little alcohol on a rag, and it just starts coming off, and it's left on here, which is why I'm using this silicone mat here, because I did not want to get this on my workbench. But if I just keep working at this like this, it will clean it right off. And then we'll have a new palette to work from, or a new canvas to paint on. Some of it's a little more stubborn than others. But this is why you want your stuff clean too before you start, because you don't want this stuff interacting with anything else. You want it to be on. This stuff works on non-porous surface. I mean, you can use it on porous stuff, but you don't get those really cool bleeding kind of effects where it blends with each other and pushes things out of the way and stuff like that. You don't get that on a porous surface. So if I did it on here, you would not get the same effect as you do using something non-porous. You can do this on glass. There's several different mediums that people suggest, but tile is a big one. It's just easy to do. And like I said, you don't like it. There you go. You wipe it off and you're good to start again. Get this all cleaned off. And there is my clean tile, ready for me to reimagine with some different color combinations and stuff. So I don't know, I don't know what you think about that, but that was my idea. So if you remember, the whole purpose of this is that tile is going to go, it's going to get gloss coated, and then it's going to go in the center of this cutting board. And that cutting board is then, or not cutting board, it's sort of a cutting board, but I don't want people cutting on it. So it's going to go on there along with these cups, which is why I went with like the blue and stuff, because it kind of matches, I've got the blue cup right here. So I can use these. And then, yeah, it'll sit in the middle of that, and hopefully that'll look kind of cool. So that's my thought. I don't know if that's going to work or not, but you know what? All we can do is try, right? All we can do is try. All right, let's see here. Now, I do want to make sure that I'm going to get rid of these because I do not want any more ink on my finger. I wonder if I can clean my fingers off with alcohol. I think it does because it looks a little lighter now. So I think if I use some alcohol on my fingers, it'll kind of clean off a little bit. And should I do more of these? Should I do another one? I'm gonna do an earth tony one. Let's try some earth tones here. I'm going to open up a couple that I haven't already. So this is Seafoam, which probably just green. Now, I'm colorblind, which does not mean I can't see any colors at all. It just means that my ability to see certain colors is impeded. Put some down here. That. Okay. So that's some Seafoam. And then I'm going to take, did I open this citrine already? I can't remember if I opened this one. I think I did. I want this citrine up top. Kind of like a, now some that I haven't opened, Ruby. Ruby has not been opened. So we're going to open Ruby. I'm guessing Ruby is red. The little lids are round and they roll. So I don't want that. So let's open Ruby. And I'm just poking a little hole in the things. Oh my God, that one squirted out. Not what I wanted, but you know what? It's here. So let's go with that. Woo, that's kind of fun. Pushed it right in there. Pushed it right in there. And who else haven't I opened? Rose? I've not opened Rose. Rose, and I don't think I opened Amber. I need to open Rose. I need to open Amber. I need to clean the needle off a little bit. Oh. Now this does not seem like it's very light. You can also get these in different, like you can get them in really bright pigments, and you can get them in very pastel. So you can definitely get them in more of a pastel kind of thing. There we go. That's kind of cool. And really what you've got is the alcohol in here is pushing the colors aside, and then the ink settles. I don't know if I kind of dig that or not. Let's Go for some amber. That was not very exciting to me. I did not like that one very much. Did I use this one already? Seems like I have. I have. So I'm gonna come up this side with this one. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. So, you know, you basically looking for the ones that have the most color cast to them. That ruby was really pretty good. All right, well, it's time to, did I not do this one? Oh, I have not done the turquoise yet. I thought I did. Let's open turquoise. Because I'm just looking at the colors now is really all I'm doing and trying to see what the colors are here. And getting them as much as I can on my fingers because, you know, who doesn't want that? I just love the way it goes poof. Does some cool things. But I'm not sure what my favorites are. Still working on my favorites here. The citrine is pretty cool. Citrine is pretty cool here. And I don't know. Just really different. So let's see. Do I have anything else in here? Should I bring out the, let's bring the seafoam back out here. Get a little seafoam up in the corner here. Weird and wonderful. And then the other thing, like I said, you can just come in here, get your alcohol, and we can go in and start. Oh, look, I'm pushing color in here now. It's kind of weird. And I can remove color because this has nothing but alcohol on it. So you can actually go in and do little painting stuff on here with alcohol once this stuff dries. I don't want to do that though. I don't want to do that. I like sapphire. Let's drop some sapphire in here. Let's drop a sapphire bomb right here. Boom, boom, boom. Because you know who doesn't love a sapphire bomb in the middle of their project? Boom. And a boom. There we go. And there's, like I said, there's a really cool thing. I'm going to see if I can find some felt. They got these little stamper things, and if you get them with alcohol and then you stamp on top, it does these really cool little dot patterns all over the place. So I might try that too. I don't have anything in here that would really kind of amplify that kind of feel to it, but the felt holds the alcohol a little bit, and then you just stamp on it, and it just creates these cool little dots and perforations and stuff all over the place. I'm like, I might be able to do something like that with this pad right here. Let's see if I can do, let's try something. Experiment. How fun, right? I'm just pouring alcohol everywhere now. But if I get alcohol in this pad, I'm just going to put it right in the middle here. It's not flat, but if I just kind of like this, then I can sort of get that sort of effect there where it's kind of spreading things around. Let me try a different edge here because that one's kind of soaked up now. It soaks up a lot of alcohol though, I'll tell you that. Yeah, so you can do things like this and it's kind of fun. That's different. I think the felt doesn't soak up and doesn't, it holds it on the surface more, is why people use felt. Whereas this is a little bit more absorbent and definitely a different effect. I'm going to put some more alcohol in here because I've soaked it all up, getting it all over the table. But you know what? I'll just use that. Use it. So I want some down in here. And let's go inside. It is kind of weird. So I don't like it like that, and I don't want to wipe it off. But you do get this kind of different vibe going with this. And it's kind of mixing the colors up a little bit. So there you go. So that's kind of fun, different, you know, just something. I don't know what. But I might do something with like a really dark blue wash over the whole thing and then just add some different, I don't know. I'm playing. But I think the cool thing is it's something I'm just going to make myself, and you know, that in conjunction with the actual holder and everything else, I think it'll look good, and I think it'll be unique, and who knows? It could be cool. I might even learn how to do like the flowers, because you can do flowers. Like I said, if you have the air hose and stuff, you can do flowers. Let me see if I can get this off my fingers with some alcohol on here. Let's see if I can get a towel here and wipe my fingers off. Get another towel here. I don't know how well, but let's try soaking this thing with some, and see if that works. Oh, that works pretty well. It's not horrible. Okay. If you have any cuts on your fingers, this is not going to feel good, but it does get some of this stuff off. So it's not completely covered in the alcohol inks. All right, folks, that's the end of the alcohol ink stuff for today. I think I'm going to just play with this and see what comes of it. And, you know, we'll go from there. But I wanted to show you what I was planning on doing with this stuff. And I'm going to wipe this up with that. Is that going to wipe up? Yeah. And the cool thing about using a silicone pad is you just wipe the stuff off, and it's really easy to remove any color that's on there. Throw those over there and let these dry, and they'll be ready for next time. Cool. All right. I do need to soak up this alcohol though and get it off of my tray here so that I can set this off to the side without fear of it getting splashed and stuff. The thing is, before you top coat this, you can always come back and do whatever you want to it. So you could come back and hit this with alcohol, clean it off. You can add more colors to it and it'll reactivate and they'll push around. So there's lots of things you can do with these. And until you top coat it, your options are always going to be open to you until you apply that top coat to seal it in, which is nice, because you might have something on there and you're just like, I don't think that really works for me anymore. All right, get rid of this. I'm going to set this to the side over here. And I'm going to move on to I've got to get this done. So I'm going to pull out my other silicone. Whew. I tell you what, I got my my booster shot yesterday, and two things. One, my arm is just sore. It's very sore. The other is, I'm kind of feeling a little decked. A little decked today. I'm a little light. This hit me harder than the first two. So odd, but it did. Not a big deal. I mean, I don't feel horrible, but I do feel like tired and drained a little bit. which they say is to be expected. You know, you can get symptomatic on the first one, the second one, the third one, all of the shots. I was lucky in that all I had for the first two was a sore arm for the first two. I didn't have any other symptoms. This one though, it's just kind of hit me that I'm just like, whew, it's nappy time. So I'm gonna find a sort of clean towel here that I can use to buff this off. I'm going to coat this with some Odie's oil. Let me get a couple more paper towels. Hopefully not pass out on you as I'm walking around my shop. What is it, 65 in here? It's not too bad. It's manageable with my sweatshirt on. It's not bad. Not bad with the sweatshirt on. And certainly warm enough that I could put some finish on here. So, all right. I'm going to get my Odie's. I do need a stir stick though, because this stuff kind of solidifies a little bit. And you do need to stir it to reactivate it and get it mixed up before you put it on. A little goes a long way. That's the nice thing about the Odie's oil. And that's a good thing because this stuff is expensive. It's like 45 bucks a jar. But I've used it for a bunch of bases now and for another thing. So I've used about this much. So they say it'll coat about 400 square feet, between 200 to 400. It depends. Between 200 to 400 square feet. I'm going to use it on these because it is food safe and it just makes life easy. I'm not going to use it on these boards though. So these will get salad bowl finish on them, which is a penetrating varnish kind of thing, which kind of seals them off a little bit more. And that's kind of what I want for those. Now I did have a pad here. There it is. So I've got a little white pad here, little white Scotch pad, kind of like 4/0 steel wool. And what I'm going to do is get this covered in the oil here and then work this into the pad and then try to use the oil in the pad to cover this surface so you get it all mixed in. I can give you this camera. There we go. So I'm going to get it all mixed into the pad. So there's my pad right there. You can see the stuff. Hopefully you can see it in there. It's all kind of worked in, and I'm going to just flip this over. And then we're just going to start working this into the surface of the wood. And you can also just take a dab and put it on the wood surface itself. It's just to kind of accelerate the process. You don't need much. I mean, it's just a tiny bit. This is not like those oils that you see where they get the trowel and spread it around, and it's not like that. As long as you've got product on the pad, it's still working into the surface and looking very lovely. As a matter of fact, it does really nice for that monogram. Look how nice and black and deep dark that is. It's really looking good. And all I'm going to do is work this into the wood like this. This is walnut in the middle. It does really nice things with walnut. On the edges, here and here are sapele on this one. This also has, it looks to be some sycamore right here and then some hickory on the edge right there. So a little bit of smattering. I think this is maple, maybe? I can't tell if that's maple or that might be hickory on there. Hard to tell. Very, very light white colored woods on there. I'm going to work this into these edges here of the handle. And the hardest part to get is inside of the hole that I drilled. So I might turn this kind of, see if I can, see what we can do with the pad here. I'm going to just roll this up and see if I can get this inside my thing here. There we go. So I'm just getting some inside there because, you know, you want that to be protected too. Ooh, that worked out really well. And sucked up a lot of stuff here. All right, I'm going to do the edges. So the key with this stuff is you just put it on and then you let it sit for an hour, basically is what they say, about an hour. And it interacts with the wood, kind of bonds to the surface, soaks in to the wood fibers. And then when it's done soaking, you buff it off. So you get a cotton towel. You don't need to use a buffer or anything like that. All you need is a cotton towel, because the way that this stuff works is you need to get all of it off of the surface. And the best way to do that is with a cotton towel. So there we go. All right. That's all looking good. I'm going to do the other side now, which is why I have this pad down here, because I don't want it to get all over the place. But I'm just going to work this in, and there's still a lot in this pad. So I can flip the pad over, keep turning the pad, because as long as there's product in this pad, I can still apply it to the surface here. And I can always just kind of add just a touch. There's not much on there, whatever was on the stick there. But really get this worked in. And it just adds a beautiful luster to all the wood. And I'm making sure it gets down into the pores. And because this was, like I said, it was sanded to 1500, but you know, you still want this stuff to get down into those pores. Even though you sanded that fine, or I sanded that fine, there's still, you know, open pore areas. I'm going to flip it to the other side. There's still open pore areas that you really want to try to get this stuff all the way down inside there. So that's why I'm kind of doing a circular thing, but I'm also going with the grain as well to make sure that I get it just worked in. But that looks like it's covered 100%. Sticky. Sticky. Let me get this area down here a little bit more. And just work it around and buff it. And a lot of people use this for tabletops and stuff. So you can, like I said, a little bit goes a long way. You just kind of keep working around the surface. That looks fantastic. Yeah, I am not unpleased. Okay, I got a little bit right here. Let me just make sure. I think this is well covered though. All right. So now, I did not think about this, but I need this to set somewhere where it's not going to, oh God, I just touched my glasses. That's disgusting. I need this to set somewhere where it will dry on both sides. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lean these up on my fence of my table saw. They can just sort of sit, and then they'll lower the saw blade so it doesn't scratch it. But I think that'll work, and I've got the edge setting in one of the miter slots. So you can, here, I can show you there. So you can see how I've got it just resting there, because I want it to be able to get air on both sides. So it's basically open at the bottom. It's just basically touching in a couple of tiny spots. So that should be fine. You know what's not fine is this slop that I just got on my glasses. Ugh. I need to get that cleaned off of there. Can't see. Ugh. Get clean. Get clean. There we go. Clean enough. Whew. All right, I'm going to grab the next one here and do the same thing. What's this one? So this one, actually, there's one of these. I want this one. I want to see this one first. So this one has some really cool quarter sawn white oak in it. So I'll show you what that looks like. So you can see all this beautiful patterns from the quarter sawn white oak in here. And I want to see what the oil, how it responds to that. So let's basically get a little bit more on the pad here. Just treat this like a new piece here. Well, I mean, it is a new piece, but we're just going to soak the pad again, get it soaked up with product. And I might just put a touch on the board here just to kind of give it a little bit extra to move around. And I'm just going to work this into this pad again. And all right, let's swirl, shall we? Now, because this is white oak and I did not do I did not seal this. So oak is a very open pore wood, very open pored. And so I'm going to work this in really well to make sure that it's getting down inside those pores. But, ooh, that's kind of cool. It adds a nice little chatoyance to those medullary rays on the oak. A little bit darker than I thought in places. I'm going to have to do that same little roll-up trick here for all the little holes on here. So let me get this rolled up. Don't think I rolled it up enough, but there we go. There we go. Okay. Just need to get some inside there. But yeah, I'm just going to work this into the long areas of the grain here on this white oak, just to make sure that it's really soaking in. And then I'm going to work on these end grain areas. You see what that looks like. That's pretty cool looking. I like that. Give you a look here and see. So that's pretty cool looking. It's not going to be as shiny as it is right now. Obviously, it's got all the oil on there, so it's shinier than it will be when it's done. But because I did take the time to sand this to like 1500 grit, it should have a pretty good sheen to it once it's done. If you sand to like, I'm going to say 320, something like that, maybe even 400, you're going to get not even a semi-gloss finish. You might get like a satin finish out of this stuff. So the more you sand, the finer the grit, the better the end result in terms of sheen, that is. All right. And lastly, let's get the other side here. Probably flip this over. Probably got a product on the inside. Running down the middle of this is a piece of Paduk. So it adds a really nice accent color right down the middle. It's got that kind of orangey tone to it. It always looks really cool. And it's used a lot as an accent piece in a lot of different stuff. I'm just going to keep flipping this around because I know there's still oil on this pad. Not getting it all the way on here like I want. There we go. But yeah, that Paduk really looks great. I've used it for a couple of different things. I actually made some sewing machine bases just out of the Paduk, not as accent wood, but just the entire base made out of Paduk, and they turned out really nice. They look awesome. Well, they're not sold yet. They're still sitting in my store. So if anybody wants to go buy those, jrswoodshop.com. They're in there. Go get them. All right. This is, I'm going to just look and see that I've got oil on the whole thing. And you can just run your finger across and see the oil on there. So, and nice fingerprints all over this one. I'm going to set this one over here to dry as well, or not to dry, but just to soak in. And we will grab another. I'm just going to try to knock these things out. I've got 3 more to go. And once these are done, hallelujah, I can get them wrapped and get them in the mail. And then that's one less Christmas present to worry about. So yes, these are Christmas presents that I made for family members. So if you're a family member and you're watching this, turn the TV off or turn the computer off, please. Stop watching. Don't look at me. I'm hideous. All right. And let me put a little bit on the surface here. I actually rubbed what was on my hands on here, and it's did a pretty good job, actually. I'm not going to lie. It looks pretty good. Work this into the surface here. All right. And this is also white oak, but not as colorful as that last one. It doesn't have the medullary rays in it that last piece did. It was pretty cool looking. One of my better looking pieces of white oak. It was a scrap from a project, but it still had a lot of really good character to it with those medullary rays. And so I thought it would look really nice. The thing about the white oak is it's really durable too. Not that anybody's going to be, hopefully not doing anything that is going to be abusive to these, but they will hold up to a lot of use. That is for certain. But I really need to get this down into that grain on this white oak. And I could have done some pour filling, some grain filling with it, but I just didn't feel like it. So there's your gosh honest truth. I didn't feel like it. Okay. Ingrain is so hard to sand to make it look good. It just is. All right, I'm going to roll this thing up again. Let's get a little bit of product on the inside of this hole here. Come on. Go. Lovely. Doesn't have to be crazy, just has to be enough to coat the wood. Get the ends, sides. So this one is oak, walnut, cherry, and then maple in the middle. Oh, big old all the lawn care companies have been pushing through the area because they're doing their leaf blowing, which truth be known, I should be doing that as well, but leaf blowing sucks. Actually, it blows. But I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, I have a leaf blower, and it's a battery operated one, but it's kind of pretty cool. It's very, very powerful, but I have a pretty big yard, and I just need to clear them out of the top part of my yard, and I just blow them down into my backwoods, and that's it. Wipe this off of my hands in here. Come on. There we go. Yeah, it's just one of those things that I really, you really got to be inspired to do that stuff, and I have not been inspired to do that. So. All right. Yeah, I was kind of surprised, even with the, doing these to 1500, man, that grain is still wide open on this stuff. Which is why people do grain filler, because it flattens your surface out and you get rid of all that open poreness and such. But anyway, that looks pretty cool. I like this one. Turned out nice. So there's this one right here. Yes, it's upside down, but still looks lovely. So I tried to mix them up so they aren't all the same. This one has got a lot of different woods going on in it. Get my glasses on my head without touching the lenses this time. So this one has, what do we got here? This one has, what is that? I think, God, I don't even know what that is on there. I think that is Jatoba on here. So this one has some Jatoba on it, which is also known as Brazilian cherry. Very dense, hard wood. And a lot of times used for flooring because it's such a hard wood, but it has a really pretty grain to it. So that is Jatoba. I also have a big strip of cherry and a strip of hickory in there, and a strip of walnut going right down the middle. I think there's another, this may have been a oak or maple on the outside here. The hickory and the maple can look similar in their properties because they're very blonde woods, kind of have that whitish look to them. So but that looks really nice. The Jatoba is, I think that's the hardest wood species that I've actually used in my shop here. Actually, this is, I think that's sapele right there next to it. That's not, I think. I gotta look and see. Ooh, that's, yeah, I think that's sapele right there. So this one has a big smattering of wood grains in it. That's kind of cool. It's got a lot of different stuff in here. Make sure I get this really looking nice. So I just need to figure out where these are all going. I mean, they go certain places because, you know, they're monogrammed, but some of the monogram stuff, I have relatives with the same monogram initial, so I need to figure out who is going to get which board and go from there. All right, you are not cooperating right there. Here we go. I need to roll this up again. Rolling this is not easy to make it fit inside that little hole. Go. One thing it does do though is it pulls a lot of product out of the pad, so it's nice because I can re-soak the pad, kind of like wringing out a sponge. That side, this side. This is walnut on this side. Walnut looks really pretty with this stuff. Does a really nice job on walnut. Makes it look quite lovely. Let's see, let me get the end grain here, because that needs to be done. Just getting this all polished up so you can see the end grain like that. Looks pretty good. Then I flip it over and get this last side. Let's see how much I have on the pad here. Need to put any more on here. Kind of funny where my fingers were holding it. My fingers are covered in this stuff, so you've got little finger spots everywhere, but it'll all kind of blend back in once I get this stuff spread out. It's just had longer to soak into some areas. That looks nice. Okay, let me run it back and forth this way, make sure I'm getting it in all of the long grain open areas there. All right, that is very pretty. My son's like, why did you make paddles for everybody? They're not paddles. I mean, you know, unless you want it to be a paddle. And then, you know, you might have other issues. So anyway, there's that one looks like, that's kind of cool looking. Let me see if I can get that turned up. But you can see that some of the wood just really pops and comes alive. This is the Brazilian cherry, if you will. So there you go. And there's that hickory with the weirdness that hickory brings with it. So one more to go. And then I will leave these things to be and come back and buff them off frame. Other things I need to do, I'm going to set this one base in the, not base, this cutting board / serving tray into the CNC machine. And we're going to get that cutting. And because once I cut that, I can go ahead and do some trimming on the edges. I'm going to do a round over on it, and I'm going to do a bevel cut on it. And I didn't really do the bevel cut on the edge until I knew exactly where I'm going to have the little bowls placed and such, because it's going to kind of just help me decide how much of a bevel I want to put in there. And I'm going to do final sanding on them as well. So they're not completely sanded yet. There's more sanding to happen on them. I went to 80, and I'm going to go at least to, I'll do a 120 and then a 150. And then we'll look at them after 150 and see if I need to do any more. I don't think I will. A lot of times on my stuff like that, I stop at 150, and they're really smooth. When you get the end grain down to 150, it always feels really super smooth. So that may be all I need to do on that particular board. But this first one is just a test run for me. And so I can get a feel for how everything is. If everything is, you know, milled out and the pockets are deep enough for the bowls and deep enough for the ceramic tile. And so I'll get a sense of that with this first one. And if it's, you know, not perfect, it doesn't matter because, well, that's mine. So it doesn't really matter. All right, so this one has 2 oaks, a cherry, a padauk, and a, what is that? I've totally forgotten now what that is. Sapelli is what that is. Yeah, that's a sapelli. So this one is really very attractive as well. I wish I had some darker accent woods in between, because they kind of, tone-wise, the cherry and the oak are kind of looking similar, which I'm not crazy about. I wish they were a little bit different in their tone when looking at them, but you know, it is what it is. So, you know, they can always get their money back. Oh, wait, they can't, because it's a gift. It's a gift. So you know what? If it ends up at the thrift store, that's their choice. Would it hurt my feelings? Immensely. Not. You know, it's, I gave my wife a really cool featherweight sewing machine. It was a white one that I'd given her, and for Mother's Day, I think. And it was really pretty and everything else. And she's like, it was a couple of years later, I think, or whatever. But she's like, so would you be upset if I sold this? Because she had a couple different ones too. And I was like, no, it's yours. You can do with it as you please. It's yours to keep or not keep. So, I mean, you know, because that's kind of like buying anything for anybody, I think, is really hard, because you try to pick something, at least when you try to get something you think they'll like, but you never really know what's going to resonate with somebody sometimes. Sometimes you get it right on the head, and sometimes it's like, well, better luck next time. So I hope they like these. They may look at it and go, that's great. What am I going to do with this damn thing? I don't even eat cheese. In which case I'll be like, I don't know, paddle your kids with it. I don't care. But yeah, so that's, that's the other thing is it's like, I have way too much oil on here. I want it to be something that they'll love and like, and that's why I make gifts, because I think the gifts that you make and you spend time on and they can see that you obviously spent time on them, I think those resonate better. It's like, when the kids make the Christmas presents for their parents and stuff, and it's like with tissue paper and cardboard and glue and tape, and it's like, those mean a lot more than something that you just spent 5 minutes on Amazon clicking the popular item saying, here you go. So I hope that's the vibe that they get from this, is that, I'm putting in all this elbow grease and stuff because I think that they will enjoy it and that it will serve them well and that it is reflecting my feelings for them as the family member that they are. But you just never know. You know what I mean? You just never know. But that's okay. I think I need a little bit more oily right here. That looks pretty freaking awesome though. Woo! It was stuck to the thing. Not gonna lie, even if they don't like them, I like it. So let me give you a close up here. There you go. And this is kind of cool. Had a little knot. It's all been filled in with epoxy and stuff. So kind of cool. And I think the knot's on the back as well. Let me turn it and see. Yeah, so there's the knot on the back, but it was filled, so there's no voids for anything to gather in and create a bacteria stronghold. But anyway, so some more white oak, cherry, padauk, and sapelli. And of course the inlay monograms, which look really nice. Those turned out really well. Did those on the CNC, filled them with black epoxy, and yep, they look awesome. All right, I'm gonna get rid of this. And I am done with the Odie's oil for the time being. And my hands are completely covered in this stuff. But it's non-toxic, and I could probably just rub it into my skin, and it's probably beneficial in some way, shape, or form. Okay. Clean enough, I think. We'll see. 1:30-ish. Well, if you follow my stuff, you know that I pretty much punch out about 1:30 for lunch because I'm a growing boy. And plus, I'm kind of feeling a little pooped from my shot. So I'm going to go ahead and sign out for the day. And, it's funny because I look at some streams. If anybody has any suggestions for some Twitch streamers or whatever that do woodworking and such, throw them in a comment for me or send them to me on my in a message on Facebook, JR's Woodshop, or you can just email to me at jeff@jrswoodshop.com. I'm looking for other streamers and stuff. I'm trying to kind of like look into the community and see if I can be in touch with and kind of interact with others who are doing this. I've been told there's a lot of them. I can't find them. And Twitch, I will say, is crap for discovery. That you cannot discover people on Twitch. It's really hard. So I've been told there's a Discord, Craftsman's Guild, but I couldn't find a Discord that was Craftsman's Guild. So I don't know. I'm hoping to find more people who are doing the same thing that I can enjoy their content and they can come and enjoy my content and we can kind of have that whole larger community thing. So if you know of anything, please let me know because I'm interested. I'm looking for it. Just not having a lot of luck finding it. I'm not like, technologically challenged. Hopefully you can see by all of the stuff going on with the cameras and the channel switchers and everything. I kind of know what I'm doing. But obviously, there are others in this community who are doing stuff and I would love to find them and be able to interact. So if you know of anybody, let me know. Hit me up. My socials are down below. You can drop a comment in there, whatever. I would love to to find out. So we'll leave it there. What's today? Wednesday? All right. Friday, I'm not sure where we'll be on Friday, but hopefully, well, I know for a fact all these are going to be done. All these blocks are going to be done. I'm going to have these carved. I have the one that I took out of I've got to get this one flattened down. So this one gets time spent with the sander, some 60 grit, some 80 grit. We'll get that kind of done, and then we can put that over here on this. I'll hopefully have these cut, and we can see how the stuff fits inside. I may actually have the roundovers and everything else done. So who knows where I'll be on Friday. Depends on what I feel like tomorrow. But if I'm not done, well, that's where we'll pick off. If I am done, I'm going to get to that damn cherry table. I promise you I am. So if you've been waiting for the cherry table, it's coming, I swear. Promise. Because I really want to do something with that. All right, what I want to do now is go eat and lay down. So have yourself a wonderful rest of your hump day today. It is Wednesday, right? Yeah, it's Wednesday. So December 1st, tick-tock, the clock is going. If you are sending Christmas presents, you need to get them wrapped up and get them in the mail soon, because I'm telling you now, it's just going to get more and more delayed for shipping as we get closer. So get it done early. Don't say I didn't tell you. All right, take care of yourselves. Come back and see me on Friday. See you soon.